All right, friends and foes. Up next. Okay, give that 2 mediums. Get everybody in. The fact that they merged. Well, we did it the other way around. There's a Matryoshka duck. And we named that one after the Human stuff. Because I like because there wouldn't have been a better name for that one. One that breaks down into 3. It's more that it starts off and then you get all 3 of them. The ones that combine make sense to me. Temp HP, healing pigment, or tanking pigment, and then I can't remember what we called the other one. Oh, legendary effect. So you combine them all together to make something huge, right? Kind of works. It's the best way I could work that. Sometimes, you got to do the best with what you got. What do we have? We had something else drop. Yeah, there's temp HP. Oh, here we go. Triavor. So Triavor, like a parrot, has different things it can say. Apparently, one of the achievements is about it collecting new sounds. And then you clicking on it to get all those sounds. But you only collect a new sound every 10 minutes. So we're not going to be able to get it today. I'm not going to be able to get it today. We'll have to work on that one Monday. Well, no, I know, but we're not talking about shinies. Shinies are a 1 in 1,000 thing, and that's something you worry about later, not something you worry about early. And honestly, I didn't even buy shinies when I got fully gilded on all my corn evergreens. It was from still buying gold chests and then just opening. You get so many free silvers, right? I'm already up to 10 silvers. You get so many free silvers. You don't need to buy more. Laba, don't apologize for being new. We're totally fine with new player questions. Time gate unlocked Regis. Okay. Get silver chests for Regis every 100th area kill its boss. Yes. When you're playing it, so you're past area 100. So it's the first time you go past area 100, you get a chest. And then if you restart and you go past area 100 again, you don't get a chest because now you have to go to 200. So every time you get a chest it's a step, it's a ladder. You're climbing a ladder to get chests. And the first rung is at 100, the second is at 200, the third is at 300, and you only get it the first time you get there. And it drops automatically into your inventory. How do I choose a champion to put my blacksmithing contracts on? Well, it should be an event champion. You don't want to put it on a core or an evergreen. And we recommend speed champions that have an item that boosts their speed effect. Briv and Human generally tend to be the priorities. I think Human and then Briv are the way the community usually goes. Oh, we got a bug in our pool. And then, but I also think Diana should be in there. I think Diana Even a few, even like 50 item levels on Diana, it really gets you a good chunk of speed. Oh yeah, I said those stupid quests, those ladder quests. I hate them. Hated them. Yeah, I get it. Ooh, we're over 11,000 gems today, folks. Yeah, we're earning gems faster than before. It's so nice. That's good. So right now, if we've earned 11,000 today, that means 50k stuff is totally doable in 5 days, as long as we've got a pile of speed potions, which I've kind of, we're almost out of mediums, so yeah, that means 50k stuff is on the table. We would start with speed feeds, but that means the Almirage would be on the table after speed feeds, and Boo would be real close. We'd be real close to getting the Almirage, and we'd be really close to getting Boo as well. That's pretty good. That's good to know. If I were going to play this longer, I would potentially bank some speed potions and then make a run on some speed 50k speed feeds. We already got all our 12.5k speed feeds. Oh, if you were talking about literally how do you use contracts, it's like this. You click on it and then you select whoever you want to put it on. We got Lae'zel up enough. Starian's next. Just like that. That's how you actually use the contract. I've already got my speed champs. Like I took all of my speed champs that had item support at least to average item level 50. Briv and Human I took higher. And now I'm getting my pushing group up to average item level 50. I just find that to be... I'm testing out that progression method, I should say. Because the last time I put everything into like Human and Briv, and I just had no power. And when I tried to complete stuff in Icewind Dale, like when I tried to unlock Xeraphon, I just got wrecked. Couldn't even get close to it. E50? No. Average item level 50. So like, if I look under champion search and I sort down here instead of by name, by average item level, you'll see it's 50. Like BBG is average item level 50. Whittle 49. Thought we had her at 50. Briv is up to 211 somehow. I don't know how. Human is at 122. Diana's at 50. Strongheart's part of my pushing group, so he's at 50. You know, so I'm putting certain people at 50. Esmeralda's real close. I think they're using a different calculation on this screen than they are on the blacksmith contract screen. Because on the blacksmith contract screen, it said Duke had 70. Now he's back to 69. Nice. Carlock is at a little above 50. Diana alone cannot ruin enrage setups. I don't even know how it would ruin debuff setups. She can't keep an enemy away from your party indefinitely on her own. Unless she... Well, yeah, not on her. She's got to attack way faster. Somebody's either buffing her speed or someone's slowing down the enemy after it bounces. So yeah, there's ways for that, but we're talking about speed progress, not about pushing power. Diana for speed is golden. It's amazing. I don't use Diana to push with. Honestly, you're fine. I think you stop. I don't know that there's a whole lot of value in the early game to get Briv and Human past like average item level 100. I don't think there's a whole lot of reason for that if all your other speed champions are at average item level in the single digits, right? So boosting some of those others, because your first 100 item levels into any given item is the most efficient item levels you can put on them. And so if you go above that, you're getting into some inefficiency, not full inefficiency, but some. So stopping at that point and putting them into at least 50 item levels into your other speed champions gives you a more efficient boost of power. Then you can go back to focusing on bringing them on. You know, Diana survive alone with the high enrage. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. Her speed, for some reason, her speed is going real fast. But yeah, that doesn't make sense. Sounds more like you hit a bug somehow. But looks like Monday might be a lesson in classes day. Let's see. Bugs and idle champions? Yeah. I put a nice blog post in the Discord talking about bugs. Somebody was, you know, I think we talk often here about the realities of bugs in video games. And it was a good post about it because this is a game developer who answers questions on the internet anonymously, but they are definitely an experienced game developer. And somebody came to them and said, I remember seeing a documentary on the development of Jedi Fallen Order and seeing a part where they are focusing on a stable build. They apparently had 1,000+ bugs they needed squashed to accomplish this. As a gamer, this seems like an unrealistic amount. First off, I'm a gamer. Don't lump me in with your ignorance. As an uninformed gamer is more appropriate. Is it realistic? How is it possible they were not able to, that they were able to not only introduce but also find that many bugs? And then they throw some shade at a certain game studio, even for a studio that's a subsidiary of Electronic Arts, as if that means these are bad devs. First off, folks, the developers that happen to work for Electronic Arts are amazing human beings. The management at Electronic Arts is what screws everything up. So I can't imagine the quality assurance team finding even over 100 bugs. So then they go on to explain, how do you find that many bugs? Well, in a AAA game, you have entire teams of QA testers that test every day during production. So if you have 50 testers and they, for some reason, only found 5 bugs a day in 8 hours of testing, that's 250 bugs that they find every day. Then in a week, that's 1,250. Obviously, this is not considering duplicates, but usually your testing has people testing different places. You're going to find a lot of fairly unique, right? After a month, that's 5,000 bugs. And in a year, it's 60,000. But most testers would find way more than 5 a day, especially early on. And then they say, to give a real-world example, they're like, here's what things are actually like. 2 days ago, I personally fixed bug number 522,096 on my current project. Currently working on a bug number 474,991. These are not randomly generated numbers. When I joined the team about 2 years ago, I was working on bugs that numbered in the mid-30,000s. QA finds a lot of bugs. But also, and we've talked about this before, software development introduces a lot of bugs. And the joke is, take one bug down, patch it around. Like, 100 bugs on the bug list, take one down, patch it around, 147 bugs on the bug list. Because usually patching a bug introduces more bugs, right? Like that's just the way that game development and software development tends to work. There's always bugs. Now it's the problematic nature of the bugs that is some bugs most people don't notice, right? But they're constantly fixing some bug or another, and players are in a long QA testers. If you're in a game that's big enough to have QA testers, are finding them. Players are finding even more. They're all getting reported. They're all getting logged, usually with a number, and they get worked on. But yeah, there's never enough time. There's never enough resources, and time is a resource. There's never enough resources to fix all the bugs in a game. Warped. How do item levels change based on common, uncommon, etc.? They don't. The rarity of the item changes the base multiplier for that item, right? So, like a white, 10% multiplier, right? So think of rarity as one thing in a slot. Item levels is a second thing. So it takes the base multiplier of the thing, and then you add item levels to boost that against that, and it boosts the overall power. So if I were to have 10 item levels on a 10% item is one number, and then suddenly it goes to 65%. Well, it takes those 10 item levels worth of power that were multiplied by 10% and then multiplies them by 65% instead, right? And then gilding is another thing. A shiny is 50% power to the slot, and a golden is 100% power. So these are base multipliers, and the items are everything is a separate multiplier. And the item levels never reset. So you could have a item level 100 white, make it green, its power went up. Because the item levels are still there. It might be amazing human beings, but there got to be enough mediocre or bad stuff. Well, look, in any large enough system, but here's the thing, like, you don't, as a company, you don't go out and hire bad developers. And the games industry is small enough for people to quickly find out, like, who are the people who don't know what they're doing. And then word gets around, and those people don't get hired. Like, yeah. If you can't do your job, yeah, but bugs becoming a part of your game is just a reality of creating complex interactive systems. That's every piece of software, not even just game development. There aren't enough, like, if you want to hire only devs that never make mistakes, A, you're going to be paying a lot for that. So most of them are going to work at some of the best studios. And B, there just aren't enough of them. There will never be enough. But basically what I'm saying is software developers are human beings. Human beings make mistakes, not always on purpose. And it doesn't mean they're bad at their job. Remember you got paid to beta test in old gaming days? Well, no. People still look, if you want to be a QA tester, you can go get that job. That's still a thing. It still exists. But there are more and more games being made by small studios, indie studios, or they're just, or have low budget games that they can't afford to hire a tester, because a tester doesn't find like, you have to have a large number of testers to find a massive number of things. You can find those same bugs quicker just by pushing a patch and having your community tell you what, like, all the other things that broke. There's usually testers, and people are testing content, but they're looking for the super obvious stuff, and then they get rid of that quickly. But you can never hire enough testers. And the whole pay for early access and stuff, Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. At that point, you're a launch game. You can call it early access all you want, but you've launched. You've gone public if you're accepting cash. Um, that's more a function of the fact that you know, publishers don't want to give studios the proper budgets, and the only way that they can actually get a game to launch is by releasing an early access and soaking up the extra money, using that money to be able to pay for the rest of the development. That's again, this is that's a management issue and not a developer issue. Iceland's Briv has a perk that says caps the effect of Brivs on natural haste at 100%. What does it mean? It means that if you have gotten Brivs, what the hell just? Oh, Point ran into the flamingo and popped it. That's great. If you get Brivs on natural haste up to the point where it's a 100% chance or to jump the next 4 areas, and then you raise the item level even higher, it will cap it at a 4 jump. That's his 4 jump cap feat. It doesn't take you there. It just makes sure that you stay there, because that's an important number for Briv. 4 jump. Going above that, above a perfect 4 jump, actually slows you down for gem farming. We get paid more for making less mistakes? Sometimes. Yeah. If that's what people are worried about, that's not usually the primary importance of hiring a game dev. But if you're an amazing software developer, like you create cool stuff and it's bug free, yeah, you're gonna make more money. It's kind of like, oh, we're on an ad. I'll do this during the ad because this doesn't have to be the odd thing is like the doctors that have the fewest malpractice suits, actually they get paid well, but they work at hospitals that have the lowest cost for stuff, because what raises the price of medical care is the added money that comes in for paying for all the lawsuits. So you don't necessarily want to go the place that charges, the hospital that charges the most isn't necessarily the best hospital because they're charging more, because they have more malpractice lawsuits. Oh, the ad timer's off. Why is the ad timer off? Hold on. It happens when I open up all the programs in the wrong order. Are we back? We're back. Are a QA tester for senior, they would be loaded with work. They're already loaded with work. This is an active game. They've got plenty of work. They don't need help. The QA testers aren't there to, like, the QA testers are there to look at, like, they have one QA tester now, is my understanding, and they look at stuff pre-launch. And even then, the priority for fixing stuff goes to major issues. Lots of stuff is still going to get through. It's usually, I think, what they're looking at is like the new champions, trying to make sure the new champions introduce as few bugs as possible. Doesn't mean that they're going to introduce 0 bugs. 0 is not the target. I mean, 0 is ultimately the goal, but it's the real goal is few bugs as possible. An early access is fine if it's playable and they have active fixes. Yes. Many flop. Some get shut down and it has nothing to do with. I've been in early access games that didn't get shut down because people didn't enjoy them, or they had too many bugs. They got shut down because the publisher just decided they didn't care to support it any longer, and the studio had to. And the studio was just like, well, shoot, because if you're in early access and you're not, generally early access isn't generating enough money to continue functioning. Generally. But to me, that just means if they're taking cash, they're a launched game from my perspective. Play a game that's been early access since 2013. Yeah, that just means it's launched and they just never. They don't consider it feature complete, but they're never going to get there. They're a full game at the moment. This game was early access for 3 years. It was a fully playable and functional game. It just didn't have the features, all the features that the devs wanted to call it complete. And I would say, even though they officially launched, I would say they still don't have all the features that they would like to have. Which is why we keep getting new systems regularly. Oh, there's our Quackdo miner. It's a crypto duck. That's why it's called Gold Find. Yeah, stability is target 1, and then quality of life is target 2, it feels like. QA test will make sure any number works. Well, only a user will then type banana. So the problem there isn't a QA tester. A good QA tester would have typed banana. A developer will make sure the original software developer will design it to. We'll put a thing and go, well, and we'll assume, well, people will punch in numbers here. It's usually the QA tester that then types in a word and then sends it back and says you did this wrong. And honestly, this game is a perfect example of that. There's a lot of emergent gameplay in this game. That the gameplay, the designers of the champions had one into there. They designed, well, this is going to fit in like this, but they don't try to then think about every possible interaction with all the other champions. They leave that space open for players on purpose. Sometimes it's problematic and they have to go change something. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like with Azaka farming. And for those of you who are new, I'm not just speaking out my ass here. For years, I've worked either for game studios or adjacent to the video game industry and community management. So I have done a lot of. I have had tons. I used to interview developers. I've had so many of these conversations with so many different game studios, and I've worked for everything from indie studios to some of the biggest game studios in the world. And the story's the same in all of them. Nothing changes. Game dev story that always impressed me is Terraria. It went from concept to published game in 150 days. Wow. And they've spent the last 10 years adding to it, improving it. Oh, I didn't know that. I've heard of the game. It was never for me. Yeah. My husband laughed and said devs would expect zeros and ones and a QA tester would just invert everything. Or a dude here. Yeah. I used to know people who, I played MMOs with players who could break Just about everything. Like if there was a bug in the game, they'd run into it. For whatever reason, their play style, the way they approach games, always ended up finding all the bugs, and they absolutely hated it. And they wouldn't even bother submitting tickets. They would just, play the game because to them that's just playing, and they didn't want the responsibility of having to fix all of that for people. But like those are the kinds of players who would make fantastic QA testers. And I always encouraged him to like submit tickets for stuff or just explain what's going on to me, and I'll go do it, and then I'll write the ticket because I'm like, I want this stuff fixed. I get that you don't care, but I want it fixed. But like they'd always find the ways to get out of boundaries in MMO areas and to climb on the straight, to climb up things that you weren't supposed to climb up, and it's just the way their mind worked. Okay, so we've got Trevor out here learning new phrases. We got more game. We still don't have the video game duck or the other duck we need. See what Trevor's learned. Yeah, definitely got more phrases. Just not enough. Just not enough yet to trigger the achievement. On the opposite side, take the devs and sue the Kings of Amalur destroyed our. It wasn't the devs. Again, I want to make sure we're talking about the right people here. The developers, I know some of them. The developers and artists did amazing work because you can look at one of the games they did before that, which is Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. What was that? Was the first solo RPG, and then they were making an MMO based off that. It was the person in charge of the studio that had no idea how to manage a game studio or manage money effectively that ran them bankrupt. And there were all kind of lawsuits about it, everything. I know people who walked away from that game and didn't get paid for like months or more of their work because there was no money. And they didn't realize there was no money until suddenly it's like, well, we're shutting down and you're not getting paid for what we owe you. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? Right? They had no idea. They lied about it the whole time. Management will screw you over. The developers and the artists and everything, super passionate. Totally, you can see it with what got done. But the management robbed us, the community, of that game, and I'm upset to this day because it was a pretty great, like the RPG was pretty great. I still have it. I play it on occasion. I enjoy that a lot. Yeah, it was owned by a former baseball player. Yes, I'm really not trying to name and shame, but I mean ultimately they deserve it. But yeah, that wasn't the name of it. But no. There's 38 studios. 38 studios was the original. Yeah. was the original studio that was running everything and ruined everything. And it was run by a former baseball player, Curt Schilling, and he had no idea what he was doing. But the story was written with R.A. Salvatore, Dirt Stower fame, Todd McFarlane. They created the fantasy setting of Amalur, and it was fantastic. And so Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is what released and I thought was a fantastic RPG. And their MMO was just titled as Project Copernicus. It never really got to the point of a name. And they just flushed money down the toilet and didn't know what they were doing and ruined everything. Ruined everything. Yeah. Declared bankruptcy in 2012 with debts totaling over $150 million. And that's after getting a $75 million loan from the local government for moving the studio to a different city to get the loan. Yeah, so just horrible. It was probably the worst example of mismanagement. Worst example of studio mismanagement at the time. People talk a lot of shit about Electronic Arts, but at least they're not 38 Studios. It's like, wow. Hey, Bandy's here, folks. Bandy's here. You know what Bandy is, right? He's a thief. Guess what he's got to do? He's got to bump into Morgaine and steal the quarter, folks. We got to get Bandy and Morgaine together so that Bandy can steal the quarter. And then when the video game duck drops in the pool, Bandy's got to bump into that to put the quarter in the slot. The complexity of this game. For a game you cannot control whatsoever, it's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Big Huge Games was a studio under... It was all under 38 Studios. Big Huge Games was kind of a developer under that banner. Or at least picked up the development at some point.